Hello, everybody. I hope you can see us all right. I'm just going to introduce the people who are here this evening. My name is Miss Pace. I'm a reception teacher and also lead up the Read Write Ink scheme within the school. Sitting next to me, I've got Miss Sibley, who's head of early years, also reception teacher. And we also have Mrs. Haynes here, who is head of Key Stage 1 and Year 2 teacher. So it's lovely to hopefully have some questions from you this evening. I hope that you've all managed to have a look at the links that we've sent you. There was a film from myself and Mrs. Fleming explaining how we teach Read Write Ink at Headington. Also a link for you to see how the speed sounds should be pronounced when your daughter's starting to learn to read. And another video from Read Write Ink just explaining the ethos behind the scheme and how it's taught. So we're hoping we're going to get some questions up. Just waiting now. So I might just tell you how we're organising it in reception, as I imagine there's probably a few reception parents watching. When the children come in, we know that some of them have been in early years settings where they may have done some phonics sounds. Some will have no knowledge at all about phonics or their letter sounds, and some children may even be reading. So within the last couple of weeks, we've been assessing their phonics just to see which sounds they know, which sounds they don't know. The last week or so, we've been working just on the initial phonics sounds, so the first letters of the alphabet and the sounds that they make, with a real focus on learning to blend words, but also in terms of handwriting and being able to write those letters as well. So that's what we've been doing there. I'm just wondering whether we'll have any questions coming up.
If you have questions, do you write them in the chat or is it in the comment box? Oh, here comes one now.
Oh, here we are.
I'm going to pop it on the screen so we can see it.
So as questions come up, we will see them coming up on our screen. Unfortunately, you're not able to speak to us, but we can see everything that you're typing on the right-hand side. So any questions that come up, we will pop them into the middle and answer them as best as we can.
So I read out the question.
Yes.
So we've got a question here that says, is there a reading list of recommended books for reception that we read to them, like there is for the older year groups? So in reception, we haven't got a list of recommended books, but we can definitely find one of those. That's a really good question. And we do recommend to read as many, especially high quality picture books, as often as you can. And we did put in the yellow reading records, a little strip of paper with suggested things that you could talk about or questions as you're reading the book. And I think that book talk is really, really important. So characters, setting, what's going to happen next, what do you think might happen, what happens before, can you remember what the links are between the different family members in the story or whatever's going on.
But we definitely we can easily send out, if that's helpful, we will send out a list. That's very easy for us to do. So yes, we will do that for you. Thank you.
So next question here, we've got, how often do the girls get to read to an assistant or a teacher?
Well, within the Read Write Ink scheme, we have Read Write Ink 3 days a week. So the girls are reading every day within those Read Write Ink lessons. We will aim to then hear them on their own as well once or twice a week with an assistant or a teacher. But the main focus really at the moment is in those Read Write Ink lessons, working on their phonic sounds, learning to blend. They are in smaller groups for those lessons, so they really are tailored to what they need to be doing and the next steps that they need to be making. But we will send reading books home almost every day. If you can give us a little tick or a comment just to know that you have read the book with your daughter, then we will change the book for you. So it's really, really crucial, if you can, that you're reading every day with them at home. I know, especially with the younger ones, they are very, very tired at the moment. It's a big change for them getting used to the busy routine of being in reception and full-time school. Lots of them are exhausted. If that's the case, just put a note in the reading record to say they were too tired to read. It's much more important that you read a quality picture book and that you share that together. The last thing you want to be doing is putting them off their reading. So you could, even if it's the little book that we've sent home, just read that with them. Perhaps they could pick out some letters that they know, perhaps the first letter of their name. They might be able to spot the odd word, or just talk about the pictures and just enjoy snuggling up and having a read together. Please don't worry too much. They're working really hard on their phonics in school. So I think enjoying quality stories is really key at the moment.
Yeah, so we've got a couple more questions coming in, which is brilliant. Do keep adding them in to the question comment bar. The next one is, for children in year 1 who are new to the school, would you recommend relearning the phonics and the read, write, ink style? Our daughter used Jolly Phonics, which is quite different.
Another really good question, thank you. I think I wouldn't worry too much. We know the Jolly Phonics scheme very well as well. I think the key to it is that they're learning to say the letters as the sound. So we want them to pronounce the phoneme rather than saying, so for example, for A, we want them to be saying ah. So whether they've learnt Jolly Phonics or Read, Write, Ink, that's okay. We have checked all the sounds that they know. And some of the children who've been doing Jolly Phonics in their early years setting, in their nurseries, were easily able to recognise those sounds. That's the key, really, is that they're pronouncing the sound rather than the letters. As I said, we've put a little video on for you to have a look at, which is on one of the links that we've sent out tonight. And that shows you how we would really like you to be pronouncing those sounds. We are going through them every day at school with the children. So I don't think it matters too much, do you, whether they've done the Jolly Phonics or the Read, Write, Ink. I think from now, obviously, it'll be the Read, Write, Ink. We'll send home some little sound books next week that you can practice as well to help with that.
The same for year 1.
Same for year 1. Same for year 1. Any children who are new into year 1, please don't worry. They will be starting from the level that they are at, whether that's the first initial phonics sounds, letter sounds, or whether they're a more advanced reader. We group them. Those groups are very flexible, so we'll be checking them again at half term. You find that some children will just very, very quickly catch those. Some might need a bit more work with them.
Thank you. We've got here, hi, and many thanks for all the videos and the links, no problem. What do you recommend for children where English is not their first language? Very good question.
Do you want to answer that one?
Yes. So I think what's important is the children are just immersed in the environment. So we've got children who join through Headington Prep all the way through. I know Mrs. Haynes has had children in Key Stage 1 as well who come with no English at all. So we have quite a big spectrum of no English, a bit of English, bilingual, trilingual at home. And I think the most important thing is not to panic, really, isn't it? It's just to let the children be at school. They're hearing language all the time and modelled constantly by teachers, by their peers around them. And so they will pick up a huge amount just through playing and being at school. You got anything else that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you often find that the children who do have English as a second language, the phonics scheme works very well for them, because it breaks the language down into those manageable chunks, and it shows them how it works and how they can easily blend words together. The thing they sometimes find more difficult is vocabulary and those longer irregular words. So again, I'd say it's reading, if you can, quality storybooks with them, and talking about all the unusual words, different words for big, different words for small, things. Just it's unusual sometimes, the words that they don't know. So just lots and lots of quality picture books and talking about those books and the characters will really, really help them. But as Miss Sibley says, they're immersed all day in the language, and you'll be surprised at how very quickly they pick it up.
They're really lucky, and I'm so jealous of the children. We've got so many children at Headington who can speak several languages, who are bilingual and trilingual, which is brilliant. Another one here. Just to say, I can see that parents are joining throughout at the moment. So if you have recently joined, we're taking questions from anybody who's watching. If you've got a question, do add it into the chat bar and we will bring it up onto the screen. We've got here, will you give us feedback on where our girls are with their reading? I understand you assess them every half term. Is that correct?
Yes, so we will give you feedback. So we've only just started the phonics this week in smaller groups. We will let you know which sounds that your daughter is working on. Also, we have a parents' evening coming up in 2 weeks' time, just before half term. So we will talk to you then about your daughter's reading. And yes, we will keep you up to date through Tapestry, through notes home, to let you know which sounds we're working on. And also the reading record's really important, because we will communicate with you in there about whether they found a book tricky, any new words that they need to learn. And again, you can do the same back to us. They will also, for reception, be bringing home a list of red words, those what we call the tricky red words that you can't decode and you just have to learn them. We work on them in school, but we'll also be sending a little list home for you to practice with your daughter. But yes, lots of feedback. If you're ever not sure, please email, do ask us, and we're always happy to have a chat with you.
I think just the other thing to add to that as well is if we do have concerns in school across both early years and Key Stage 1, we will always contact you. So sometimes like no news is good news, but please, you know, we will get in touch with you if we've got any concerns at all. We've got a few more questions coming in here. So we've got the next one is, do we need to be doing any writing practice at home, or is it just reading for now?
Now, this is a really interesting one. I think we're debating at the moment how much to send home. You will be getting a little Read, Write, Think phonics book. Within that book of the initial sounds, there's a little bit of handwriting practice. We do have some sheets that we can send home for the sounds that we're learning in school each week. We do a sound every day, and then we're revising the ones that we've done in the days previously. So it's quite fast moving with the Read, Write, Think scheme. We're working on handwriting formally and informally at school. So there, would you...
Yeah, I think the only thing I was going to, this is a bit of an add-in to what you've just said, especially if there's any nursery parents out there watching, or children who are sort of right at the beginning of their phonics journey. I think drawing and painting and anything where they're holding a pencil or a pen, that all of that builds into the writing skills. So I think as much, you know, lots of plain paper or notebooks or paper on clipboards at home, that's really makes them want to go and mark make and to write, just to get them using those pencils and practicing that fine motor skills. And they've obviously got lots of gross motor skills at daycare settings and nursery settings, and I think we're just starting to refine them now, ready for
it's learning to pick up the pencil with what we call the froggy fingers tripod grip. You'll find some children, if they've not used a pencil or a pen very much, will almost be gripping them with their fist. So it's getting the correct pencil grip. Things like colouring between the lines, and actually for the smaller children and the younger children, just holding a pencil correctly is very tiring for them. So little and often you could start with their name, obviously a capital letter for the first letter of their name, but otherwise we would say any writing that you're doing, please could you be printing and using the small letters. Don't be teaching them to write in capital letters, because that has to then be undone later. We do learn the capital letters, but for general writing, it needs to be the printed letters. We can send out a sheet of the correct letter formation for everybody with the phonics sounds. With the little books that you're going to get home, you will see the correct letter formation in there.
Thank you. We've got more questions coming in. Do keep them coming. The next one is, how do you monitor their progress?
So we monitor their progress. So every half term, we check their progress. We check which sounds they've retained, which ones they might need to work on a little more. Obviously, we are checking them every day in school. We're making assessments all the time. We're noticing all the time what they need to do next, what they need to revise. So the formal assessment is every 6 to 8 weeks with the phonics, and the groups change a lot. So your daughter might say she's moved group. Even within those few weeks, if there's a sound that your daughter hasn't retained and we feel that she needs to pop into another group and have another go at that sound, we move the groups around as and when they're needed to do so.
For Mrs. Haynes,
my turn.
Year 2 children and spellings, should we still be using the Read, Write, Think phonics sounds, or using the actual letter sounds, e.g. versus n?
Thank you. That's a great question. Yes, please still use the phonics sounds. That's what we do as teachers, but we do find that during Year 2, children often start to use the other letter names as well, and that's fine. It's good for them to be able to do both, but to begin with, we'd definitely expect to be using phonics sounds, so that would be great if you continue with that for the spelling programme.
I think it's absolutely fine to be doing both if they're in Year 2, and you could say to your daughter, oh yes, that's the letter M, it makes the sound That's how I'd handle that if she's noticing. They do need to know both.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Haynes. So we haven't got any more questions popping up here, but we'll stay on just for another couple of minutes, just in case anybody's holding back. Now's your moment to come on and ask away.
just to just give a bit more general information about the read writing. So if your daughter's joining us in reception, the read writing phonics scheme generally is a 2-year scheme. So we would hope that most of the children who have been with us for the whole of reception and the whole of year 1, usually they're off the read writing scheme and independent free readers by the end of year 1. It's not always the case. If your daughter might need a bit of extra support, we can give that well into year 2, but that's the general expectation really of what we're trying to achieve there.
Any top tips for learning those words?
Yes. We tend to, we call them rhymes for red words. So for example, I'm trying to think of what's a tricky red word?
Because big elephants.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite a tricky word.
That is a very tricky word. So you picked the most tricky red word. So you can either use a mnemonic, so you can come up with a rhyme where each letter of the word is a word. So the very famous one is, big elephants can always understand small elephants for because. Sometimes the children will come up with a rhyme that to do with the way the word looks. I remember last year, some of the year 1 children, we get them to come up with their ideas. So for that's not really a red word, is it? For what, that some of them would say hat with a word or hat. Anything really that if they can see a smaller word hiding in the word. If you ask them,
small ants in
yes
dip. I think once when I was in year 1, we had said as small ants in dip. Again, that was the children's lesson where they were coming up with mnemonics for the tricky words.
So something to do with the way the word looks or a word hiding in the word. Talk to them about what will help them remember really, because that's more meaningful for them.
Ooh, more questions coming in. Brilliant. We've got here, is there any application, dashboard or resource for parents who can reach to Read Write Inc resource so that you can get onto the resources? Tricky with Read Write Inc.
Well, there is a parents website. Yeah, so some of the 2 of the links that we've sent you out with the letter today are from the Read Write Inc website. If you go onto YouTube, you will see there, if you search Read Write Inc, as you've typed it in there into the question, there are lots of videos there which are quite useful. If you go onto the Oxford OWL website, we can send the link out for that. That's the main resource for parents. On the Oxford OWL website, there are lots of phonics useful bits and pieces that you can use. Also on the Oxford OWL website, there are books, graded books, which match the colour bands that we use in school for reading. And those are really useful if you want to do some reading at home with your daughter.
Yeah, thank you. No more questions are coming in at the moment. I don't know if there's anything else anyone wants to add, or Mrs. Haynes, is there anything you'd like to add from a year 2 perspective?
No, I'm not sure how many year 2 parents we've got watching, but just to say that we do continue Read Write Inc all the way through year 2 and through the up into Key Stage 2, but it's quite different in year 2 in that we introduced the Read Write Inc spelling programme. And so we have a weekly session where we watch a short cartoon video introducing the new sound and spelling pattern, and then we do little activities every day, very small and little and often, practicing those spelling words, and then we get the children to try and learn some of those for a little quiz the next week. So it's slightly different to year 1. And as Miss Pace has said, those children who still need a bit more support with their phonics will have the opportunity to be in a booster group, meeting several times a week with one of our learning assistants to make sure that they do cover all those phonic sounds.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything about nursery?
Yeah, just if any nursery parents are out there, Mrs. Sale is currently doing, just for the term up until Christmas, she's working on phase 1 phonics from the letters and sounds scheme, which leads into the Read Write Inc scheme. So she's working on all those essential skills that are pre-phonics. So if you're an early years parent, we did send out our notes from the welcome meeting, and there's this brilliant iceberg there where it's got phonics at the tip of the iceberg. Then underneath, it's got all of those essential skills that those really young children have got to have, so that they're ready. And the more ready they are, the quicker they pick up the sounds and the words as they move on through the scheme. So having just been in nursery, we've done some amazing things recently. We've been looking at lots and lots of listening eye contact, hearing the sounds that they can hear around them, and being able to differentiate. It's really, really tricky, you know, inside and outside. Lots and lots of talk about it, lots of games, sound bingo. We read the story, for example, Peace at Last, which was brilliant. We've looked at all the different sounds in the story and then trying to remember the sequence of the story. Lots and lots of book talk. And over the term that will increase, and then they'll hopefully start, most of the children, depending on where they are, they might start onto the set one sounds towards the end of this academic year.
Yeah. And I think just for those parents in early years, if you look out in the book bag for the little green and yellow phonics books that will come home, those have got a little bit of handwriting practice in as well. They're really worth just flicking through every day. Your daughter can pick out the sounds that she knows. We are reviewing all of the sounds as well, because we're aware some of the children know all of their sounds. So we're going through all of those every day. And the other thing that's coming home in the book bag is the red words sheet, just to practice reading those red words at the moment. And as Mrs. Bowles asked, just getting your daughter to think of ways that they might be able to remember those tricky words.
Brilliant. Thank you so much from Miss Pace, our reading leader, and Mrs. Haynes as well. If you think of any other questions overnight or during the week or over the year, do please email us and get in touch, and we're here to answer any questions or concerns at any point. But as the questions have stopped, I think we will stop there for this evening.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. Do email us if you find questions pop into your head overnight. And if not, we'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully there'll be less rain. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.